Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your stack of sources and give you the strategic shortcuts you need to navigate the modern world. Today, we are cracking open a truly fascinating document that analyzes power dynamics, not in, ancient courts or battlefields, but right there, where we spend 40-plus hours a week. The modern office, the university department, even that high-stakes cross-functional team meeting. We are exploring the strategic influence, 15 organizational laws of power. It's basically distilling centuries of Machiavellian thinking into a playbook for today's ambitious professional. Our mission, it's laser-focused. We need to really dig into this framework, figure out how these, ruthless-sounding rules actually apply to the, let's say, tamer environment of the cubicle farm. Though maybe not always so tame, eh? We're going to give you this strategic map, help you stop playing checkers, and maybe, just maybe, start playing some three-dimensional chess in the workplace. Okay, let's unpack this. Is the ambition of the modern strategist really so similar to that of a Renaissance prince? Because honestly, I have a hard time picturing someone actually crushing their enemy totally over, like, who gets the corner cubicle with the dying plan.
Well, the sources certainly suggest that the fundamentals, ambition, fear, insecurity, they don't really change, do they? Regardless of the setting. The competitive nature, the hierarchy in modern organizations, big corporations, tiny startups, even nonprofits, it makes these principles of behavior management, strategic thinking surprisingly relevant. And the text is quite clear on this. It's presented less as a how-to guide for becoming the office villain.
Right, not Darth Vader of the break room.
Exactly. More as an essential defensive manual, a toolkit for survival and, yes, for advancement. But we need to set the context right away. The text insists that understanding these rules actually lets you act with more foresight, maybe even more ethically than someone just stumbling through without awareness. If you get the power plays, you can choose how you play. Or, crucially, how you defend yourself against moves others will inevitably make. But, and this is a big but the moderation imperative is key. We have to stress this up front. Strategies based on, hyper-manipulation, pose as a friend, work as a spy, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sounds pretty intense.
It secures short-term wins, sure. But it absolutely destroys the trust and the relationships you need for sustained long-term success. Think decades, not quarters. In collaborative structures, which most workplaces are, these laws have to be applied with integrity, with restraint, with calculated subtlety.
That distinction feels crucial. Because if you're too obvious, too aggressive, you just become predictable, don't you? You become that person, the one who had that one big toxic win, but now nobody wants to work with them. Isolated.
Precisely.
It sounds like we're aiming for the high-efficiency operating system for your career, not the career-killing malware package.
Oh.
Okay, so the source explicitly points to Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power as the, let's say, spiritual foundation. But like we joked, applying crush your enemy totally when your enemy is Bob from accounting who keeps leaving passive-aggressive notes about the coffee maker. It's absurd.
Yeah. Right. It creates drama you don't need. Career suicide, potentially. And the source actually spends a good deal of time on this exact adaptation problem. How do you translate these rather brutal principles for an environment where you have to see the same people every single day? The key point is filtering, serious filtering. The 15 laws we're focusing on were picked based on 3 criteria super relevant today. First, impact on navigating hierarchy. Second, long-term sustainability, can you keep doing this? And third, effectiveness in managing perception. How you look. So the really aggressive zero-sum laws, the ones that get you hauled into HR immediately or put on some informal blacklist, they're out, filtered.
No.
We're keeping the principles that teach strategic thinking, resource management, influencing outcomes without, needing to metaphorically burn the building down.
I appreciate that focus on sustainability because real power isn't about one dramatic victory, is it? It's about persistent influence over time.
Exactly right, which means the modern use of this framework is really twofold. First, it's an observational toolkit.
Like putting on special glasses.
Sort of. If you know these 15 common power plays, you can spot them happening in real time. In a meeting during a project update, you see what others are really doing. And second, it's a defensive manual. It helps you protect yourself against the manipulative tactics that, let's face it, others will use, whether they know these laws or not.
So if my rival colleague suddenly starts praising the boss for my idea, I don't just get mad. I think, okay, clumsy attempt at Law 1 deployment.
Exactly. And your response becomes rational, calculated, not just emotional lashing out. Success today, the sources argue, relies much more on proactive resource management, sophisticated passive defense, rather than those big, noisy, aggressive moves. It's about maximizing leverage, securing your position, which leads us straight into the most critical arena, managing your superiors.
Ah, managing up. The tricky bit.
The trickiest, because your boss is the gatekeeper. Resources, opportunities, even your continued employment potentially. Positional safety starts there.
All right, pillar one. This sounds absolutely fundamental. Minimizing vulnerability, maximizing leverage within the chain of command. If you want a career that actually lasts, not just one flash-in-the-pan project, you have to get this part right first. It's the subtle art, sometimes contradictory, of managing up.
This one is non-negotiable. The absolute bedrock for career longevity in any hierarchy. Government, startup, big corp, doesn't matter. The core principle. It's simple, maybe a bit brutal. Superiors, your masters, they must always feel superior. Brilliant. Absolutely secure in their position, and this is irrespective of their actual objective competence.
Ouch. That's the ego management task, isn't it? You literally cannot walk into your performance review and make your boss look like they haven't had a useful thought in 6 months. Even if that's kind of the truth.
That's the essential risk right there. If you're too good, too visible, too obviously brilliant, you stop being a valuable asset. You become a threat. A rising sun, as the source puts it, the practical application. It needs highly strategic credit transfer. And pre-framing. You need a system for this.
Okay, a system. How do you systematically pre-frame a big win to protect yourself? Give us the how-to.
Well, the best practitioners of Law 1, they don't just offer vague praise like great leadership, boss. No. They strategically involve the superior early on, not for the actual heavy lifting, mind you, but for guidance. They'll ask for specific advice, maybe even documented advice, on the direction or the vision.
Ah, creating a paper trail.
Precisely. Could be a note from an early meeting, an email asking for input on a high-level strategic choice, something you can point back to. Then, later, when you deliver that huge success, the project that saved the quarter, you publicly frame it. In the final presentation, maybe a company-wide email. Frame it as a direct result, an inevitable reflection of the manager's initial guidance or visionary choice. You link your success directly to their wisdom. Your competence gets channeled to boost their reputation. Your brilliant work becomes their job security.
And that connects right back to the risk. If you mess up Law 1, your competence gets flipped. It's not an asset anymore. The source says it becomes a perceived threat, which leads straight to getting sidelined, contained, maybe even pushed out, regardless of your actual results.
It's the organizational equivalent of being too tall in a room with a low ceiling. You get chopped down just for standing out in the wrong way. Hashtag tag 2.2, the efficiency indispensability loop, laws 7 and 11. Right, these next two laws, 7 and 11, they work together. It's a synergy designed to maximize your output, save your energy, and critically make you more valuable, less vulnerable.
Okay, Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. That sounds pretty rough, like just stealing people's work. How do we moderate that one?
Yeah, the wording is harsh. But the strategic principle beneath it is more about sophisticated resource leveraging, strategic delegation. It's not necessarily outright theft. It's about being the one who synthesizes the work, who controls the overall quality, who applies that final intellectual polish. The modern translation. It's effective project management. You leverage the team's efforts, maybe past projects' storehouse of knowledge, as the source says. You guide it, shape it, and then, yes, you secure the final credit for the leadership and the synthesis.
So you focus your own energy on the high-leverage stuff. Strategy, presentation, navigating the politics, while delegating the grind.
Exactly. The data crunching, the execution details. Your leadership makes the whole project efficient, and that efficiency reflects positively on you, not necessarily on every single person who compiled a spreadsheet.
Okay, so you're the conductor, ensuring the orchestra plays well, and you get the applause. Makes sense. Now, how does Law 11, learn to keep people dependent on you, fit in?
Dependence is power. Law 11 says the energy you save using Law 7 through that smart delegation, you need to reinvest it. Reinvest it in creating structural dependency, not just temporary reliance.
Structural dependency, like what?
Become the sole expert on something critical. A legacy system nobody else understands, a proprietary internal process. Maybe you're the only one with a relationship with that key client. You create a bottleneck, a valuable bottleneck.
Like being the only person who knows how the ancient creaking billing database actually works.
Perfect example. If that system is critical, you have leverage, real leverage, because getting rid of you suddenly becomes a major business continuity risk. They need you.
Ah, I see the loop now. Law 7 saves you time and energy. Law 11 tells you where to reinvest that saved time into becoming indispensable.
Right. You maximize perceived efficiency through delegation, reduce your personal workload, and maximize your job security by becoming structurally essential. This forces everyone, superiors and peers, to manage their relationship with you very carefully. That's leverage. Hashtag tag 2.3, managing conflict and isolation. Laws 15 and 18. Okay, shifting from offense to defense, we have to talk about conflict. Law 15 is heavily modified here. Decisively resolve conflict. The source is really clear. Forget the original Machiavellian total destruction idea. That's just counterproductive in today's collaborative workplaces. You might need that enemy on your team next quarter.
But wait, if Law 15 still says decisive conflict, how do you know the difference between being decisive and just being aggressive? To an outsider, they can look pretty similar, can't they?
That's the tightrope, isn't it? Aggression is usually personal, ego-driven, emotional. Professional decisiveness, the source argues, is driven by organizational efficiency. Let's say you have a colleague who's perpetually negative, always misses deadlines, drags down team morale. That's not just annoying, it's a structural threat to the team's success. The modern way to apply Law 15: address these threats professionally, document everything meticulously, resolve it quickly. Often that means escalating to management with clear facts and metrics for a final decision. The goal isn't annihilation, it's neutralizing the structural threat permanently, stopping a constant drain on the team's energy. It's like surgical removal of an organizational problem.
Okay, so it's about efficiency and conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Avoiding that endless, draining Cold War that kills careers and projects.
Exactly. And speaking of things that drain energy, that brings us to Law 18. Do not build fortresses. Isolation is dangerous. It feels counterintuitive, right? We think power means walls, protection.
Yeah, I'd think being left alone to do my high-quality work would be ideal. Why is isolation dangerous if my numbers are good?
Because your numbers alone aren't enough protection against political shifts. Power in organizations requires visible networks. It requires continuous, informal information flow. If you just retreat into your office, rely only on official emails, you become incredibly vulnerable. Reorgs happen, budgets get cut, political alliances shift, and you're the last to know because you're cut off. Isolation creates massive information asymmetry.
So you're flying blind.
Completely. So the professional mandate here is active, visible participation. Show up on cross-functional teams, go to the networking events, even the slightly awkward ones. Engage in the necessary informal chats. If you isolate yourself, you've basically given up the currency of organizational power, which is actionable information. You've built your own prison.
All right, pillar 2. This is, as you said, the movie poster for your career. Because in the office dynamic, perception often is reality, at least initially. If you don't control your narrative, someone else definitely will.
Reputation. It's the absolute cornerstone. The source calls it a multiplier effect for everything else you do strategically. A strong professional brand may be built on consistent quality, reliability, deep expertise, even just ethical behavior. It can actually intimidate opponents, and it massively increases the credibility of anything you try to do.
That multiplier effect is huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you have a solid reputation, people take your proposals seriously right off the bat. If you make a mistake, you get more leeway. But a bad reputation, it's like an open invitation for attacks. People just assume the worst.
And in our digital age, this law is more critical than ever. You have to rigorously manage both your real-world conduct and your online presence. Your LinkedIn profile, your comments on industry forums, even old social media, it all precedes you.
It can disqualify you or open doors before you even walk in the room.
Exactly. Guarding it with your life means being almost paranoid about consistency. Don't let small mistakes, careless remarks, or office gossip undermine years of hard work building that brand.
Okay, this one feels risky, especially in corporate cultures that often say they value modesty. If you chase the spotlight too hard, don't you risk breaking Law 1, outshining the master, or Law 38, not fitting in?
It's definitely a calculation, a balancing act. But the source argues it's strategically better to attract some attention, even if it's occasionally controversial, than to be completely invisible. In today's noisy professional world, if you do great work but nobody knows about it, you get overlooked, forgotten when promotions or key projects come up. This isn't about being a narcissist, it's strategic differentiation.
So how do you apply it effectively?
The modern application is about taking on high-profile, challenging projects, the ones everyone knows are tough, the ones with high visibility. And then you execute them flawlessly, demonstrably superior results. This showcases your competence, makes you stand out from the crowd of capable peers, and it feeds right back into Law 11, indispensability. If you're known as the person who can handle the toughest, most visible jobs, well, that's a powerful reputation to have.
Right. So the key is coupling the attention-seeking with undeniable, high-quality delivery. Don't just be loud. Solve the big, visible problems. Hashtag tag tag 3.3 controlled communication. Laws 4 and 34.
Controlling the narrative starts with controlling your own mouth. Law 4, always say less than necessary. This is fundamental for projecting competence and control.
The power of silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that backfire in meetings.
Ugh.
Someone just talks to fill the silence and ends up revealing weaknesses in their plan. Or worse, just looks unsure.
Exactly. By speaking less strategically, you avoid those accidental revelations. You prevent others twisting your words. And maybe counterintuitively, you generate an aura of mystery, of control. People tend to project power and depth onto the person who doesn't feel the need to constantly talk. The source even notes that in serious negotiations, strategic silence can be a weapon. It pressures the other side to talk more, maybe concede points or reveal information just to break the tension. Then we shift gears dramatically to how you present yourself physically. Law 34, be royal in your manner. Act like a king to be treated like one. This isn't just about expensive clothes, is it?
I always wondered if that was just superficial stuff. But if Law 5 is reputation, maybe Law 34 is about reinforcing it visually, behaviorally.
Absolutely. It's behavioral architecture, projecting authority, competence, confidence through your entire demeanor. Posture, composure, how you handle pressure. The practical application. Eliminate emotional reactivity. Stay completely calm when everyone else is panicking. Set high standards for yourself and, by implication, for others. Refuse to get drawn into petty office gossip or complaining.
So you act like you're above the fray.
In a sense, you negotiate from a position of perceived strength. You signal self-respect, which encourages others to respect you. When everything's hitting the fan, your calm demeanor suggests you're operating on a different level. It reinforces that royal status, metaphorically speaking.
This one feels clever, almost a strategic compromise. It seems to contradict Law 6, courting attention. Why the need to conform?
Well, while you need that intellectual independence, that different way of thinking, to become indispensable, Law 11 appearing too different, too unconventional on the surface, that invites suspicion, isolation, unnecessary friction. Law 38 advises strategic conformity, but only in the non-essential areas.
So on the surface, you fit in. Follow the basic company culture, dress code, meeting etiquette, how people generally communicate.
Exactly. Blend in on the superficial stuff. This minimizes friction. You save your political capital, your energy for the big things, the core objectives you really care about.
Instead of wasting it defending why you wear shorts to the office or refuse to join the team lunch.
Right. Maintain your intellectual independence internally, keep thinking differently, but package your public behavior conventionally. Don't get ostracized for trivial reasons. Save that fight for when it really counts strategically.
Okay, pillar 3. This is about execution. Getting things done, influencing outcomes, maybe without everyone realizing what you were up to until it's already a success. Strategic execution, soft influence. This sounds like where the real finesse comes in.
This one's critical for maneuvering. It's about preventing opponents from putting up defenses or mobilizing against you. Let's face it, workplaces are competitive. If you openly broadcast your big ambitions, say you want to push through a major disruptive change, you basically invite resistance. People will compete, they'll resist the disruption, they'll find reasons why it won't work.
So keep your big plans, your ambitious projects, your career moves under wraps until they're well developed or proven or basically a done deal. Tell me more about this self-competence strategy.
It's like a military principle. Maintain formlessness. If your rivals don't know where you're focusing your efforts, they can't effectively counter you. So instead of announcing some huge controversial project proposal that everyone will debate for 6 months, maybe you quietly build a proof of concept on the side. Perhaps using some of that time you saved through smart delegation, Law 7.
Keep your cards close to your chest.
Exactly. It protects your idea, stops people picking it apart before it's ready, and gives you the element of surprise when you finally unveil something that actually works. The source suggests many great initiatives fail, not because the idea was bad, but because they were announced too early. It gave the forces of inertia and resistance too much time to mobilize.
That seems like the payoff for stealth. It works perfectly with Law 3, doesn't it? Because demonstrating competence, delivering actual results, that's infinitely more powerful than winning a debate or getting into one of those awful passive-aggressive email chains.
Absolutely. Engaging an argument, even if you're logically right, even if you win verbally, it almost always generates resentment, because for you to win the argument, the other person has to implicitly admit they were wrong, and that's politically costly for them, Actions, tangible results, visible successes, they're inherently convincing. They don't require anyone to concede defeat. The result speaks for itself.
So the synergy is key here. You conceal your intentions using Law 3, letting the work happen without friction. Then, bam, you reveal the success through undeniable action using Law 9.
And your opponents. They're forced to react to a fait accompli, a finished reality. It's incredibly hard to argue against something that's already done and demonstrably working. Hashtag 4.3 Strategic Alliances in Defense, Laws 10 and 13. All right, let's talk alliances in defense. Law 10 is a crucial defensive move, infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. It sounds harsh, but the idea is that misfortune, chronic drama, relentless negativity, these things are contagious in an office.
Strategic distancing. Okay, but how do you pull that off without looking like a total jerk? Like you're abandoning colleagues who might actually need support.
That's where Law 5, reputation, comes back in as a guardrail. You're not abandoning someone having a temporary crisis. Law 10 is about strategically distancing yourself from individuals or teams known for chronic issues. The constant drama queens, the teams whose projects always seem to fail, the relentlessly pessimistic people who drag everyone down. They drain your energy, and just by association, they can start to taint your reputation, your perceived success rate.
So it's about protecting your own energy and credibility, focusing on positive, productive relationships.
Precisely. Now, shifting to proactively building alliances, Law 13 is vital. Appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. It argues that successful alliances have to be rational based on clear mutual benefit, not sentiment. Gratitude, the source claims, is notoriously unreliable in the workplace.
Okay, that sounds incredibly cynical, though. If every interaction is purely transactional, doesn't that undermine the whole idea of eventually winning hearts and minds with Law 43?
That's the inherent tension, yes. But Law 13 acknowledges a core reality of human motivation. People are primarily driven by what benefits them. YIMM, what's in it for me? So if you need help, resources, support, don't appeal to pity, don't remind them of past favors you did. Instead, you frame your request entirely around how their involvement will help them.
How it boosts their metrics, increases their visibility, advances their own goals.
Exactly. It becomes a rational reciprocal transaction. Both parties gain something tangible. This actually minimizes the cynicism in a way, because the exchange is transparently based on mutual benefit, not manipulation disguised as friendship. And this final influence law provides that essential soft counterweight to the hard transactionality of Law 13. Power gained purely through force or intellect or transactions. It's brittle, it doesn't last. Sustainable long-term influence, the kind that really endures, requires getting inside people's heads, aligning their internal desires, their motivations with your external objectives. That's soft persuasion.
Okay, so after you've maybe initiated contact based on mutual interest, Law 13, Law 43 is about building the deeper connection, aligning motivation, not just forcing compliance.
Exactly right. And this requires real understanding. What do your peers, your team members actually value deep down? Is it public recognition? More autonomy? A chance to learn a new skill? Feeling part of something important? By tailoring how you lead, how you interact, to appeal to their sense of self-worth, their intrinsic motivations, you build genuine loyalty. Motivated support that goes way beyond just hierarchy or a quid pro quo deal.
So you're turning transactions into relationships.
You're building resilient consensus. This kind of loyalty helps you weather setbacks. When things go wrong, people who believe in you, whose hearts and minds you've won, will stick with you. It makes your influence stable and long-lasting, not just temporary.
Okay, so we've got this comprehensive toolkit: defensive moves, offensive plays, managing up, managing perception, stealth, alliances, soft influence. The works. But let's bring it back to that core tension. What happens if someone takes these laws too literally? Goes full, unmoderated Machiavelli in the Monday morning meeting.
And that's the critical point. The source really emphasizes this is the common downfall for people who try to wield these laws without nuance, without foresight, the literal hyper-manipulative application. It makes you predictable. It absolutely demolishes trust. And crucially, it destroys your network health, which directly violates Law 18, don't build fortresses. The end result is almost always isolation, instability, and ultimately career implosion. The focus has to stay on rational observation, calculated responses, not becoming some kind of master manipulator pulling strings. In fact, the document gives some really compelling examples showing the stark difference between the toxic application and the strategic, moderated use of these laws. We should probably look at a couple.
Yeah, let's do that, because that distinction seems to be everything for long-term success. About Law 7, take credit. Toxic application is?
Toxic is blatant plagiarism, stealing work directly from your team members, fabricating results, Just lying about your contribution.
And the consequence.
Fatal. You violate trust. Law 5. You create bitter enemies, violating Law 15 spirit. You get found out eventually. The strategic moderation, though, it's about ensuring you get appropriate credit and visibility for your leadership, your synthesis, your crucial contribution in bringing it all together. The outcome of the moderate path is documented advancement, perceived efficiency. The toxic path, guaranteed retaliation, getting blacklisted internally.
Okay, another one. Conflict. Law 15, decisive conflict. Toxic version.
Toxic is professional annihilation.
Huh.
A scorched earth campaign, verbal attacks, spreading rumors, trying to get someone fired over maybe a minor disagreement about project scope or who gets which resource. Utterly disproportionate.
And that just torches your own reputation, right? Law 5 goes up in flames.
Completely. Moderation, conversely, is the decisive professional removal of genuine organizational liabilities. Things that are actively undermining efficiency or team health. It's the calculated elimination of a specific structural problem, maybe that perpetually negative person we talked about, or ending a consistently underperforming vendor contract to restore health. Toxic path leads to widespread fear and damage to your own brand. Moderate path leads to better efficiency, team stability, which reflects well on your leadership.
Last one. Law 3, conceal intentions. Toxic.
Toxic is actively deceiving your boss or key stakeholders about what you're actually working on or about problems you're encountering. It's outright lying, high-level fraud.
Which, again, is fatal if discovered.
Absolutely. Moderation, on the other hand, is about protecting ambitious plans from premature opposition or sabotage. Shielding a nascent idea from people who are overly cautious or maybe just competitive and want to tear it down before it gets wings. It's the difference between deception and strategic ambiguity. Toxic leads to total loss of trust. Isolation. Moderate leads to strategic advantage, letting good ideas survive long enough to succeed.
This distinction is everything, isn't it? These laws, used correctly, are diagnostic tools, understanding human insecurity, allowing calculated responses, not just raw emotion or aggression. So the overall goal, it seems, is resilient career progression. You have to prioritize perception, how you are seen. Laws 5, 6, 34, and ruthlessly minimize personal risk. Laws 1, 4, 10. Offensive moves, like using Law 9 or 13, save those for when the conditions are right, friction is low, and the potential payoff is really high. It's about being calculated, not cruel, because cruelty ultimately is just bad strategy. It's politically unsustainable.
And that calculation has to include the potential endgame of success itself. If you get too good at this, if you rise too high and become the linchpin, the indispensable one, Law 11, you risk a different kind of isolation. People might start treating you like a critical piece of infrastructure, not a human colleague. You have to consciously keep building those hearts and minds, Law 43, keep tending your network, Law 18, even when success tempts you to retreat into that fortress. The true master strategist realizes the goal isn't just temporary power grabs, it's building sustainable long-term influence. #outro. So if we distill this down, the ambitious strategist should probably internalize these key priorities from the 15 laws. Things to keep front of mind. First, prioritize perception and safety. Always. Treat your reputation, Law 5, and that careful deference to superiors, Law 1, as absolutely non-negotiable foundations. Your competence has to boost their security first. Second, cultivate indispensability. Use the time you save through smart delegation, Law 7, to build that unique specialized knowledge or control that key relationship, Law 11. Become that valuable bottleneck. Third, master strategic ambiguity. Use concealment, Law 3, and calculated silence, Law 4, to protect your plans and control the narrative. Don't show your whole hand unnecessarily. And fourth, emphasize action over debate. Win through visible, undeniable results, Law 9. Delivering success beats winning an argument every single time in the long run.
This whole deep dive, it really shows that the biggest challenge maybe isn't learning how to crush your quote-unquote enemy. It's figuring out how to professionally navigate the inevitable competition and conflict without tanking your own career longevity or your ethical compass. You really do have to understand the game to survive it, let alone thrive. So what does this all mean for you? Well, these laws, fundamentally, are a diagnosis of human insecurity, aren't they? From the boss's fear in Law 1 to the negativity you're advised to avoid in Law 10, they really hold up a mirror to common workplace motivations. Which leads to our final provocative thought for you to chew on. If you primarily use these 15 laws not as a manipulative playbook, but as an observational toolkit, a way to understand the motivations, the fears, the likely next moves of others, does that make your own calculated response inherently more ethical? Or just more effective at getting what you want? Something to think about. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive. We look forward to analyzing your next stack of sources soon.